Yeah, that's Abby Broyles, and she is in the middle of a bit of a controversy here, based off of this one particular incident that happened with some kids. So a US House candidate in Oklahoma, she's apologized after reports that she became intoxicated at a Valentine's Day weekend sleepover for middle school aged girls, berated several of the children, and vomited in a hamper. Yes, that is the overall arching, but there's details that you have to hear. So according to multiple details of this evening, Broyles in that campaign ad there became intoxicated and spoke derogatorily to some of the girls. She allegedly called one girl an acne effer, and also which prompted the girl to leave the room in tears. Broyles allegedly called another girl a Hispanic effer and another a judgy one as well. Man, she's throwing the F word around like crazy to these kids. So also according to one of the parents of the 12-year-old, the judgy effer, her daughter was called that for not wanting to sleep with a blanket that Broyles had used to clean up some wine. Yes, there was wine. So here's some tweets from some of the one mom that was particularly upset about this. Sarah Matthews said, since it's been 5 days and you have neglected to reach out to any of the young ladies, 12 and 13-year-olds, you verbally and emotionally abused last weekend, I thought I would give you a chance to try to apologize at a minimum here. For someone who pontificates to be an underlyingly pro-woman, I'm disgusted by your behavior and I find it appalling. You couldn't even understand why their parents are angry. Your vile, cruel, and bigoted behavior should not be excused or quote, swept under the rug. Oh, she's not done. Not only did you scare and traumatize these beautiful girls with your words, you ruined a pair of their shoes with your vomit. I apologize for laughing. Which she saved up to buy with her own money. Considering how much you bragged about how rich and successful you are to these children, surely you can afford to replace her shoes. Now there's more, Jackson, but let's get your first response to what happened here. She got sick, she vomited. There's more reasons behind that and there's more excuses. But first, how do you find yourself in the situation in the first place?
Exactly, I can't, I do a good job at trying to put myself in people's shoes, and I just couldn't feel those shoes. I couldn't put my feet in those boots today because under no circumstance could I see myself doing that. You're in your 30s, you're running for a national seat. And you're right about Jim Inhofe, he does need to go. But again, given that mixture, you being an adult and running for a US seat, you go to a house full of middle schoolers, which I don't why are you doing that in the first place? Then you drink wine and you say, she said it didn't show, but she said she had these sleep issues throughout her life.
Yeah.
So you should know about taking medication, mixing it with wine. So again, under no circumstances does this make sense. So my ultimate reaction is, just I don't even really have a good one to give other than how did this happen?
Well, Abby's initial reaction was, what are you talking about? Let's go to that. She said, I saw the tweets. I've been out of town on a fundraising trip and they are awful and offensive and false. I mean, I get trolled on Twitter all the time, but I don't know these women and I don't know what is behind this, but it's just not true. Asked if she had ever gone to the house where the slumber party occurred, Broyles said no. Also, she said, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, this is ridiculous that this is even becoming a thing. This didn't happen. Also, I'm running for office. You don't think this is a political attack? Man, you don't think this is something they cooked up? Man, Abby's digging in deep. So finally, she did admit later on, she was at the party. So all those words about no and political attacks, I can't believe they do this to me. All that stuff is now out the window. But also, yeah, okay, yeah, I said a couple things to some 12 and 13-year-old girls. Let's go to that here. As she spoke with her she's also was formerly in the news, as you guys saw, but her former colleague there, Kevin Ogle, talked to her. Said, Abby, how did you wind up at a slumber party for middle-aged school girls? That's not a typical venue for a candidate who's running for Congress. And Abby said, I was invited by one of my great friends, Cassidy, my friend from law school, to her house to be there while she was hosting a Valentine's Day sleepover for her daughter. That makes some sense to me. You have a little company, you want an adult in the room with you, so you don't have to listen to these girls all night. Kevin then said, that's not the Abby Broyles I worked for on Channel 4. What happened? She asked me to come over, is what she said. She asked me to bring some wine. We had wine and sushi, and a couple of hours later, we were upstairs in their theater room watching a movie. Then she gets into what happened. Well, why, she says what happened. For years, I've struggled with stress and anxiety and insomnia. And she knows that. Her friend, she knows that. And she gave me a medication I had never taken before. And I had an adverse reaction. Instead of helping me sleep, I hallucinated. And I don't remember anything until I woke up or came to, and I was throwing up in a hamper. Whew. Man, okay, so this is the other thing. And I know you mentioned this a little bit before, Jackson, but first you find yourself in this situation. Number two, you say I was never there. Then you say my good friend knew that I had these issues with sleeping. And then she gave me this random pill. And I guess maybe while she was taking a sip of wine, the friend dropped it in. How did you take it then? Because I've had friends offer me pills I've never had before. You know what I say? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Right, exactly. And first, you had to, well, let me say this. After a certain point, especially if you're someone who does partake in substances, you start to learn your limits. So again, that's another angle from this. It's like you're drinking, how much wine did you drink? Did you drink the whole bottle? You know what I'm saying? For you to just like, oh, just puking in shoes and trash cans and calling girls everything under the sun effer. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, it's a terrible excuse from every angle. This isn't the first time you've drunk. This isn't the first time you've taken pills for sleeping. And I'm sure it's not the first time you've done other types of recreational drugs. So I still fail to find any sympathy for her.
Lastly, there's tons of stress. I know you're running for office, but let's jump down to graphic 14, you guys, because I want you guys to remember her first denials and then her admissions and then this apology. Let's check this out from Twitter. The things I'm accused of saying are not who I am, nor do they depict the entirety of the situation that occurred. They are not a reflection of my beliefs. This has been a painful attack on my character, from the accusations themselves to the overwhelming amount of politically charged threats, malicious emails, calls, and messages I've received. Like all of us, I'm not perfect. We all make mistakes. And I'm sure I'm not the only Oklahoman who's ever done that. Had one too many on a Friday night. Being in the public eye for an intense 3 years in a tumultuous political climate has been the most stressful time of my life. While I'm committed to service, I'm taking some time to focus on my mental health and recharging so I can feel 100% better again. And the thing you might expect it in that is, therefore, I'm suspending my campaign because there's no way I can possibly win this and all that the story comes out. But you'd be wrong if you said that, Jackson, because she's staying in the race.
She's not gonna give up. She's taking the leadership route. You know what I'm saying? She's moving forward. She's trying to be inspiring. She's doing the best she can.
Yo, at this point, I'm okay with it. Stay in the race. What's the worst that could happen?
Right, why not? Yeah, you ain't gonna win anyway. You might even get some notoriety out of it because I think this isn't something that will really make the general public really despise you. It's just a funny story, kind of, and again, because I'm not the only person who just happens to get wasted at a bunch of middle schoolers' houses and throw up in their shoes.
She's gonna find her voting block for sure. If Trump can find his, she can find hers.